Did you know you can support the Technology Show when you shop at Amazon.com? Become a friend of the show by starting your shopping at thetechnologyshow.com/shop. It's Tuesday, January 7th, 2014. 3 days away from my last year in my 20s.
Oh.
I'm Matthew Teachy.
Happy New Year! I'm Heath Mullican.
I'm Wade Rogers.
And I'm Tony Casey. Welcome to the Technology Show, a weekly podcast featuring technology, theology, and everything in between. This is episode 231, and we want to welcome into studio today Wade Rogers.
Yes.
Does Wade understand the privilege, the chair?
He is sitting in the chair of honor in front of the wall of faith, and he is beaming with your gloriousness.
I'm still looking for the golden EIB microphone, though.
Heath was supposed to explain to you, Wade, that if you will become a martyr, we will put your picture on the wall.
That happened in the Redskins-Cowboys game.
That's right.
Heath, so you had a great experience.
Yep. Got to go down to the Orange Bowl last weekend. Very quick trip. I've actually got my Orange Bowl shirt on, my Clemson. But it's so cold in Tony's house today. Great trip. We stayed in Atlanta Thursday night, flew down to Miami Friday, went to the game, slept for a few hours, and drove back Saturday. But it was what a great game. It was
Ohio State fans don't say that. So, who's right on this one?
Clemson fans. We won, and I do know what the O in OSU stands for now. It's overrated, and we thoroughly dominated that game. I'm very happy with the win. It made the seemingly 20-hour drive back bearable. It was great. I got to go with my lifelong best friend and his son, who's 12. And, we pretty much decided this was something we wanted to do every year, and especially as my son gets older. So it was great, man. It was just a well-needed, quoting 80s movies and, just a good laugh and a good trip. And, hey, let me just say this. The state of South Carolina, 2-0 in bowls. The state of Alabama, 0-2. That's all I'll say.
So way to go, Heath. You have alienated all of our Ohio fans and all of our Alabama fans. That's really good.
That's right. That's right.
So here's something the question I love to ask at the end of a bowl season. I hate the whole bowl system, and there's always a team or two you say, you know what, they got the shaft. So in your opinion, looking at the bowl season's over, is there a team that you feel like really got the shaft? Should have had a shot at a national championship but didn't?
I don't think so. I think that it played out pretty well this year. I think, Florida State did not play a great schedule, but they went undefeated. It's very similar to 1984. 1984, BYU went undefeated, didn't really play a good schedule, but won the national championship because they were the only undefeated team. So I think it's very similar to that. Florida State won a great game. They beat a great team who got some pretty lucky breaks during the year. But it was, man, what a great season. What a great college football season. Exciting every weekend. A lot of intrigue. And college football is changing dramatically.
So that's coming from you, who's had a great, had a team go to a bowl. But I feel like last year at this time, I heard the two of you all lamenting, man, stuff's got to change. It's just got to change. Like this whole system about college football.
Well, no,
it's just got to change.
But it is. This was the last year of the system. So next year,
what changes?
Next year's playoffs.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Next year there's a 14 playoff.
Whoa.
So, and what'll be awesome is the championship game. Oh, wait a minute. Will we be at the gathering for during the championship game? We're gonna have to look at our schedules. We may have to move some stuff around.
Hey, listen. One team I did feel like Central Florida. That team. They only have one loss, and I'm just kind of ashamed that they didn't have a shot.
Wade, tell them who beat Central Florida.
South Carolina.
That's right.
Yeah, a top 10 team. That's right. Yeah.
Number 4.
All right, listen. Well, yeah, 4 is in the top 10. Yes. All right, so Heath, let's talk a little bit about our Amazon affiliate, and be sure to give us our purchase of the week.
That's right. Let's say you weren't able to go to your favorite bowl game, Amazon. You can go on there and you can buy Clemson stuff. You can buy South Carolina stuff. And we want to thank Zach Burnham again. If you go to thetechologyshow.com, you can click on the Amazon link and go make any purchase. That's all you got to do, one click. Or if you use Google Chrome, you can go into and use the Chrome extension, the Techology Show extension. What that does when you're using Google Chrome is every time you go to Amazon, it uses our affiliate link. And so many great people have been doing that for us. And this week, lots of great purchases. But our purchase of the week, I don't even know how to say this, was a soft speaker, 2-pillow speaker with volume control.
Oh,
So
nice.
someone is trying to sleep and listen to music at the same time.
Maybe they're trying to sleep. Maybe we are putting them to sleep.
Yes, maybe.
You can buy this speaker, put it under your pillow, and
Yes.
the Techology Show can put you to sleep. We will rock you to sleep.
Yes, I
Gently,
guarantee you,
like
if
a
you're
little
listening
baby.
to this on the podcast app and you put it on 0.5 speed and we sound like this, it will.
It'll be perfect.
It'll be
Hey,
great.
so the link for the Chrome extension, Techology/Chrome. They'll take you there, install it, then you never have to worry about anything.
That's
again.
right.
You just go to town and
Yeah.
buy everything.
It's wonderful.
And Matthew, you and I had a conversation. We did some work throughout the house there and in the studio over the holiday season, but just our appreciation for people who are using our affiliate link. I mean, these nickels, dimes, dollars,
Yeah.
they really add up.
Yeah,
for us
so
and
so
help
just to
us.
give you, I mean, it's not like an exorbitant amount, but in 3 months, the last quarter I checked it ended in December, and we've made a little over $200 that now we can use to buy, and that'll get us. We've got plans. I mean, we've got things
Yep.
that are on the back burner that we need to buy to continue to push the technology of the show forward, and it's going to go towards that. In fact, we made upgrades at your house over
Big
the
time.
holiday season, and one of the little switches that we bought, because it's here in our studio, we actually use some Amazon money, I think, or something
Yeah.
like that. We use Techology Show money in some way.
Right.
So
Yep.
yeah.
Also, too, we're on the verge of announcing our first sponsor for the show. They have the contract. It's going to be signed. We're hopefully next week we can talk about that and launch it. But let me just say here that if you're looking for an effective way to get word out about your organization, business, or nonprofit, why not consider sponsoring an episode of the Techology Show? When you sponsor the show, we'll feature your brand right on the front page of our site, as well as inside the episode that you've sponsored. This means that your investment literally lives on years after the week you sponsor. We think it's a great deal and would love to have you on board. So for more details, go to thetechologyshow.com/sponsorship. All right. One of the things that we want to talk about or start out with this morning is something called the Community Bible Experience. Now, we have talked about this, but now it's beginning to be implemented. So Matthew's got a video here. Matthew, go ahead and just launch that, and then we'll talk about it.
Your heart. It's roughly 18 inches from your brain. Not very far, right? So why is it so hard to not just read the Bible, but to really absorb it, deep down where it counts? Why do we have trouble getting it in a way that transforms our life? There are probably a lot of reasons, but here's a good one. Back around 200 BC, a Greek translation of the Bible split whole books into smaller sections, so each could fit on a single scroll. The order of the books changed too, sometimes simply from longest to shortest. In the 13th century, the books were divided into chapters, and in the 1500s, Bible verse numbers were added. To make it easier to fit on pages, the text was split into 2 columns. Notes and commentary were added over time. Section headings too, and red letters gained popularity along the way. So what does it all add up to? Our modern Bible, weighed down by a lot of well-intentioned accessories. But does it feel more like a reference book than a love letter? Does it read more like Bible nuggets than the story of God? So we asked, what if we could turn back the pages of time to set the Bible free from history's many additions? Would God's Word flow more freely from head to heart? We started by putting the books in a better historical order. Books that had been split, we put back together. We took away the chapter breaks, the verse numbering, the notes, the commentaries, even the red letters. We put it all back into one column like the original. And we named it The Books of the Bible. A Bible so innovative, it was there from the start. Then we kept thinking. People usually read the Bible alone, in isolation. But what if we could go deeper together, experiencing God's Word in community? So we designed a 10-page-a-day reading plan, and we're inviting you to meet once a week in community to talk about your questions and discoveries. In just 8 weeks, you will have read the entire New Testament like you've never seen before. We call this 8-week plan the Community Bible Experience. All the better to move God's truth from your brain to where it really counts. The Books of the Bible and the Community Bible Experience. Coming soon to a heart near you.
So in episode 221, we had Jeremy Summers from Wesleyan Headquarters and Kenny Jang, who works with Biblica. And this is a one-of-a-kind, first-time partnership between Biblica, who owns the copyright to the NIV, and the Wesleyan Church. It's the first time Biblica and a denomination have worked together to make the Community Bible Experience go denomination-wide. And so I am very, very excited. I've been part of the team kind of getting the rollout going and trying to educate people about what it is and getting them plugged in. And so if you're watching this and you're wanting more information, you can go to facebook.com/40daybible. That's our Facebook group where we're talking about different ideas. You can go to 40daybible.com. There's everything you need from ordering Bibles to downloading different resources is right there.
Yeah, and there's some great resources. So
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, as we were heading, it's always a weird Sunday, that Sunday right after Christmas.
Yeah.
So as we're heading into the new year, the past couple of years, I've been talking about why it's important to read your Bible.
Yeah.
Because everybody, will make a resolution. I'm going to do something special in the next
right.
year. So I feel like it's a great time to hit it. So it flowed really well, considering that this, for us, will start in February, the end of February. And I played for them. There's the audio book version of this that you can get as a resource from Biblica. They're giving you the ebook version. I mean, you can just get that without even having to buy the physical copy. There is a children's, more dramatic reading that goes day by day. Every day there's a little MP3 file.
Yeah.
And I played a clip of that for my people on Sunday morning, and I had some adults being like, I think that's the one I want to listen to.
And also, if you use the YouVersion Bible app, it's
on there.
It's also on there. So all you do, I mean, Matthew, you guys just ordered 2 cases of Bibles
so
for
that's
$6.99 a piece.
They
with
come in
free
cases
ship.
of 12. We ordered 2 cases. When you order by a case, you have free shipping. And goodness, it took no time at all for them to arrive. They shipped those things out very fast. And goodness, I went through a box and a half on the first Sunday, and I think I'll have a little bit more participation as stuff goes on. But already people are talking about this. People are excited, particularly not just young people. And I have some young people. I mean, I've had kids who have said, we're going to do this. And I think we're going to incentivize them in some way by like really making it a big deal every Sunday who's done their Bible reading and stuff like that. Yeah. But my older adults, man, my seniors, they're pumped about this. They think like this is just like the greatest thing. I had one of my inner 80s come to me and say, this is just fantastic. I am so excited to do this together. And like, it's just something that has stirred her heart along, and that makes me happy.
And we're just, we're, one of the things is it's read big, read real, read together. And we're just incorporating it into our Sunday school classes that we have. We're actually using this to launch some new home groups, a young adult home group. So I'm very, very excited, and the people at Biblica have been great to work with, and they're excited because, like I said, we're kind of the guinea pig in all of this.
Our family's going to do it together. Our 15-year-old, we were coming home from church, we were talking about it, and she said, going into 2014, this was one of my goals, is to read more of the Word of God. And so we said, well, you know what, we'll just do this together as a family. And I think that what we're going to do is we're actually going to read it. All 3 of us will just take turns every night reading a section of that. So, it's not only great from a family perspective, but then when you add in the family of God, and you have other people at church who are traveling the same road here. You create a community experience.
Right. And as a pastor, it's going to be exciting too, because what I've found is that one of the most engaging times that we've had as a church is when everybody's on the same track doing the same thing.
Yeah.
We've done
Yeah.
this before, and I'm going to get to preach from stuff people have read. They're going to be thinking about it. And there's something about it when everything from your children's programming to your adult your Sunday school classes, small groups, and then what's happening from the pulpit on Sunday morning all ties into some sort of theme. Oh my word. Like, it's like, why don't we do this all the time? But the reality is, like, the intensive work when you don't have a resource like this handed to you, like we have here from Biblica,
Good
man,
point.
that's a lot of work. So take advantage of these resources that have been prepared for you. That a lot of that footwork has come out of it. I'm hoping, I haven't seen this as resource stuff, but we're going to be taking our Wednesday night children through stuff that they've read the prior week as they come. And a lot of these kids that we have are unchurched, and we're going to be challenging them on Wednesday night too. I'm going to be working to come up with some sort of lesson pulling from different resources that will fit with that.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to be about 2 weeks ahead on that, and I'll try to make whatever I'm pulling together available for other people who might want to have it.
Yeah, Matthew, I mean, you raised a good point here. So in my 35 years of being in the church, if you ask me what's been the greatest experience in terms of a preaching series, that is a no-brainer to me. And it wasn't under my ministry, but it's when we at Golden Grove, where you pastor, we did Soul Shift, and we were the whole church was going through that together. Sunday school classes, and the kids, the teens, the adults. And so that's a really easy one for me. It is the greatest sermon series, the best. And because of what you just said, that the whole congregation is going together. They're on the same journey.
And it takes work. It takes a lot of intentionality. But when you can get those kinds of things happening, you get some extreme buy-in from people. And good gracious, I love it. I love it when in our church the children are putting the pressure on the adults to keep up with stuff, like as it comes to memorizing scripture and reading stuff, like, because I'll right before Christmas, as we've gone through our Christmas stuff with our kids, like I had them all up front, and they all, I mean, without anything to look at, did this memory verse that they're doing. And I love to point it out to adults that, good grief, if these, I had 5-year-olds, I have a 5-year-old who can get up and say this extremely long memory verse that we did a few months ago that we were working through. And if this 5-year-old can do it, surely we as adults can jump in and do this as well. It's great.
And one of the things we're hoping to use the Facebook page for is, there's not technically a sermon series for people to go through. So we're using that page to kind of throw out ideas. Me personally, what I'm using during those weeks is I'm going through the readings, and I'm trying to pick passages that I have never preached from before. I'm trying to pick parts of the New Testament that probably don't get preached on a lot. So like during the first week, something that we've read that week that maybe I haven't hit on. And so I'm really trying to use this to challenge myself, and just, I'm not taking it easy on my people this year, man. They're getting pushed.
Heath, I hate to put you on the spot here, but is there a way maybe after the show today that you could at least provide in the show notes links to like the promo video we just saw? Yeah. Matthew, you said something in the pre-show. There's like 3 or 4 good video clips that you'll be using.
So Biblica actually made this one. The Wesleyan Church has made one with Dr. Lyon talking about it. That's one, Tony, that you saw last Sunday.
And that's on 40. Yeah, that's
right.
On 40 Day Bible.
There's 2 others that Biblica has made. I don't know what the permissions are. I think I heard you talking with the guys there at Biblica about using their stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've put the links to a few of them up on, like I said, our Facebook page. But yeah, we'll do our best to get those resources out to
those
people.
downloaded. I've already taken. They have Biblica has created basically a sermon, not a sermon, introduction to this thing that I used on Sunday morning 2 weeks ago. They had it formatted as 4x3, which does not work for me. 4x3 is dead to me. So I have made I've reformatted this whole introduction where it's got notes and all that in 16:9 that you can take. It's actually got included in that the little audio clips from the children's Bible reading and from the adults thing. It's on that Facebook page. I threw it up there for everybody else to grab if they wanted it. But
cool.
We'll try to. centralizing of this stuff is, I think it'll happen on that Facebook page. So we'll definitely link that.
Yeah,
right.
I'm like just really excited to see, how this affects our whole denomination. So
One of the reasons we started this show, among others, was to make people aware of resources that are out there. And about a year and a half ago, we did a story on Ed's story. And this was something that was just beginning. And now over the last 2-3 years, there are 7 videos that have been made. And so let's just watch this introductory video and we can talk about it more.
Every human being knows they're going to die. The difference is I feel it with every twitch in my muscles. I feel it in the depths of my being. And I realized that I was really dying because I had given up. When you're living in fear, every issue is overwhelming. ALS forced me into a situation where I grew in understanding what it meant to obey Jesus. I think early on in my life, I thought I was in control. And the truth is, you don't control squat. One day it will be over, but it's not about how long I have left. It's about how I spend the time I do have.
So if you don't know anything about Ed Dobson, that's who this is. He pastored in Grand Rapids, had a wonderful, thriving ministry, and then he was diagnosed with ALS. He was given 2 to 4 years, 2 to 3 years to live. He's lived 13 years now since his diagnosis, and what he's done is he's taken this opportunity to produce videos. Mm-hmm. So if you go to edstory.com, there are like 7 or 8, and these are powerful.
Yeah.
Heath, this, little personal here, but I was watching you as you were watching that.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said to listen to someone who's going through a deep valley in life. Yeah. And if you're going through a valley as well, and I know with you and Karen, you've been very public about, her diagnosis with Huntington's disease and kind of you guys coming to grips with that. I would guess that there was kind of an affinity for you as soon as you saw this.
Yeah, it's kind of like he's leaving breadcrumbs. He's kind of saying this is the way, and it's just a powerful thing. And so the question, that we've got to ask ourselves is, how are we leaving breadcrumbs? And so I find his story very, very challenging. It's very comforting, but it's inspiring to know. He said it on there. He said I was already dying because I'd given up, and so it's. You got to wake up every day and live.
Before I had heard about these videos or about his story, the week between Christmas and New Year's, I really didn't know what to preach and where to go. And God impressed Psalm 90:12 on my heart. Teach me to number my days, that I may gain a heart of wisdom. And I used that as my message last week or 2 weeks ago. And I told my people, when the Bible says teach me to number my days, it's not talking about quantity, it's talking about quality. It's talking about
Yeah.
make your days
Yeah.
count.
Could I get those notes?
Sure,
yeah.
And I actually used the Pink Floyd song "Time" as part of the. But the song,
You would, Wade.
the song, the song fits perfectly. If you look at the song and you look at Scripture, what it says in Psalm 90, and we learned this at Southern Wesleyan. I know Matt was in class with me. All truth is God's truth.
That's
And-
right.
And so, but yeah, God has really impressed that upon me for this year that I want to make my days count.
Yeah.
Well, you talked about Dodson said that he had given up, and he has a video where he talks about that. He was a pastor who knew success. He had a big church. He was in control. And the irony was this, that he had spent his life in ministry trying to help people have hope in hopeless situations, conveying to them that they could trust in God. It was going to be okay. But then when it came upon him, he went into a shell. And there's one of these videos that is just powerful because he talked about how Christmas was his favorite time of year, a time of lights, and the things that they did at the church. And he looked so forward to it. And he says to his wife, after he gets a diagnosis, and it's the first Christmas, I don't want to go. I just don't want to go. And his whole story, he talks about a guy who was in way worse condition than him, a guy who had AIDS, and he had just come out of a cocaine addiction, and this person had nothing in life. His wife had died. He had a child he'd never met. And after he'd gotten this diagnosis, this guy calls him, and he recognizes that Ed is depressed and that he's down in the mouth. And his whole thing is, man, you need to be a Yogi Berra Christian. And Ed says, what in the world is this guy talking? I have no idea. And Yogi Berra is famous for his sayings, and one of those is, "It's not over till it's over."
Yeah.
And he was, and so this guy's looking at Ed saying, "Man, you have, to use what you just said and what Ed says, you've already died."
Yeah.
And it was a wake-up call for Ed.
One of the things the church has done that has caused so much harm over the years, especially in today's American culture, is we almost preach that if you're living right for the Lord, there will be this escape from suffering. That if things are going wrong, you're not doing something right. And I think we've got to get back to, the whole thing. Christ died so that we could, not so that we wouldn't suffer, but that we could thrive and overcome in our suffering.
In that suffering.
I came that you might have life,
Yeah.
and have it to the full. That's what he said.
And part of that is not. Sometimes we take that to mean to be above.
Yeah, to be above suffering instead of.
And it's just a powerful thing.
Well, we're getting ready to do a new series at church, and we ask people in November and December to write down what questions you have. What are some questions you have? And the two biggest questions were, can I lose my salvation?
Yeah.
And what will heaven be like?
Yeah.
And to be very honest with you guys, we're going to do our best to answer those questions, but those questions frustrate me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it shows that our people, it reminds me of when Jesus ascended into heaven.
Yeah.
And the angels came and said, "Why are you staring at the clouds?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of the way our people are.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wade, we could have a nice you and I, we could have a nice long discussion about this whole thing. I believe I have on this platform before. Goodness, I lost my train of thought. Never mind.
If I'm not mistaken, if you're a Wesleyan watching this, I may be mistaken, but I know the Wesleyan Church for the time being is doing a partnership with Right Now Media where you can get a free trial and there's free online videos for that. And I want to say that these videos, Ed's story, are part of that. I may be wrong. I may be completely crazy. I will do some checking quickly and get back to you.
I remember where I was going to go. So something I'd love to talk about is that in the early church, one of the big movements or ideas amongst them that we've just totally lost because it's become the last taboo for us was dying well, was how to end it well. And it's like the only thing that we in our culture don't like to address or think about, because we're all about not numbering our days, but how can we prolong our days? How can we be sure that we make it to the next day? And there's something to this idea where you gotta say, hey, it ends at some point. How do I end the best way possible. And
Yeah.
it sounds like that's the philosophy that Ed Dobson came to there.
It is absolutely his philosophy. And Matthew, you and I know a guy, Paul Brown, attends church with us. His wife, Jo Brown, in 1996 was diagnosed with cancer. She was diagnosed with the same cancer her mom had, and she helped take care of her mom. And so Jo knew that if she had treatments and things of that nature, that they could extend her life to maybe 4 years. And she never hesitated. And I want to stress this. She never hesitated when they told her her options. She said, I don't want any of that. I want to go home. How long do I have without treatment? They said, well, 2 to 3 months tops. She said, that's fine. I want to go home. And she was one who grasped it. I mean, she's one of those few people that have been around in ministry who really understood that ultimate reality is the kingdom of God. It's not physical life alone.
Yeah, and let me say, I never got to meet Jo. I know her husband, I know her family. I never got to meet Jo personally, but I have talked to so many people who encountered her during that season of life. And essentially, what I've come away with, in fact, one person said it in these very words, when she was literally on her deathbed, people would go to visit her,
Yes.
let me go visit her and encourage her. And instead, they were the ones who were walking away encouraged and moved spiritually because she was just pursuing this idea, and it left an impact. So earlier this year, there was a Christmas party at the church, and one of the ladies in the Sunday school class, she had a Christmas sweater on, and I commented on it. I said, "Well, Vicki, that's a really nice Christmas sweater." And she said, "This was Jo Brown's."
Yeah.
And Jo was giving, not in a morbid way, but she was blessing people by giving things away.
She did.
And it's this continual memory thing. And I've run into that so many times where I've said, "Ooh, this is really great." Well, this came from Jo. She and it's implanted this thing in their minds where like it's been an example where everybody that I've encountered that knew her is like, man, this was incredible the way that she ended.
Yeah.
And she died in September of 96. She was diagnosed in June. She died in September of 96. And one of the blessings that all of us received was, and it was very unexpected, all of us got Christmas cards from her in December. She had done them all before she died.
Wow.
And I remember getting it, and I just started crying because it's like this voice from the grave who is speaking, who's saying it's okay, everything is all right. Yeah, so these are great videos.
Yeah.
So we recommend them.
And they are on the Right Now Media. So I mean, we will be doing them at our church this year. Just powerful stuff.
They're well done. All right, let's keep moving here. Time for
Yes, it is.
it is.
Download of the week.
All right. Now, I always have a hard time demoing and running the device at the same time, so I'm going to try to throw up. There's my phone on the screen.
Don't throw up, please.
Well, there have been people throwing up around me last night, so it's not great. So I might throw up. Here we have the phone, and the download of the week this week is Onavo Extend. And this is a great little app. They have it for iOS and Android, and I'm going to run you through how it works. Essentially, you're on a data plan, and you have a limited amount of data that you can use unless you have somehow grandfathered an unlimited plan in.
No.
Onavo, when you are on a cell signal, runs you through their VPN that compresses all data traffic that comes into your phone. And so what you're seeing here on the screen, this is since the beginning of January, as I have been out and about. This has saved me 16.9, so 17 megabytes of data that now I can use on something else. And it's got a full breakdown in the report of the different apps. So for an example, like Savory, this is Savory rather. This is a shopping app where you can keep track of deals. It's kind of like Slick Deals app. And as I've browsed that, as I've been around, it's saved me over half of the data that has come into that app. It has compressed that and made it great. So it'll take an image. Like, I don't notice any image degradation. I'm sure, if you really wanted to nitpick, you might, but it shrinks down images, makes them smaller, does that. It only cuts on when you're off of Wi-Fi. So when you're on Wi-Fi, It doesn't go through their servers. When you go off of Wi-Fi and
That's
you switch,
cool.
it does take a little bit of time. That when in that transitional time, I see you, Heath. I'm sorry to cover
No,
you
no,
up.
no, you're fine. No,
there you
I'm
go.
just messing.
When you do switch off of Wi-Fi, it takes a second for it to go into the VPN server, and I can't demo that for you because then I wouldn't be able to show it on the screen. But let me show you. So you install it, but then there's something you got to do. When you first open it up, it's going to ask you to install a profile, and we're going to run through that right now. I'm going to hit this reinstall profile. It is going to go to their website, and it is configuring, blah, blah, blah. And this is a little VPN profile you got to install on your phone that will make it. Well, goodness, I can't. We won't go that far. Won't show the passcodes. But it'll make it to where when it'll automatically switch and do all that. You got to go through those steps. But once you've done it, it's great. It didn't used to work great. It used to have a few little bugs, and so I waited until some kinks were worked out of it. It's actually acquired by Facebook as a part of their big internet push. At the end of last year, you may recall them talking about how to get internet to third world countries and places that needed it big time and all that. And during that big push, they acquired this company. So the downsides, it's going through a VPN server, which means they know everything that you're doing online. So it's a great way for Facebook to figure out how to do advertising and do all that. So if you're freaked out about that kind of stuff, this wouldn't be for you. I don't care. I consider it security through obscurity. There are so many people in the world. I do not care at all if somebody knows what's happening on my phone. If Facebook knows that, more power to them. But it's a great little compression app. They have an iOS version and an Android version, and I've put my parents on it because they kept going over their data limits, and we're paying lots of money at the end of every month when they get hit with that bill. And the Android version, it'll actually shut your data off when you get to the point of your limit. When this is installed, it'll just say no more internet for you.
No soup for you.
Yes.
Let me just say, I use a lot of data.
Well, here you go.
Yeah. Especially when you come to my house, Heath.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, that is cool, Matthew. I mean, really, that is.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, especially with the feature with Android where it'll just shut you down.
Yeah. Now, Android actually, if you dig in, Android has a way to configure that on its own. There is a way to tell Android to do that, but this will walk you through it and make it a little bit easier. Yeah.
Yeah, because it can be a pain to try to keep track of all your data.
Yep.
So that's cool.
Now,
All right.
Wade, are you on an iPhone or you're an Android guy?
No, I'm iPhone.
Your iPhone?
iPhone 4.
Okay.
So this, on that note, let's go back to that, Tony. This will also show you how much you've used overall. So it'll say you can dig into the iOS settings and find out how much mobile data you've used, but it'll tell you, hey, I've used 82 megabytes since the beginning of this month.
That's it? Golly. What am I doing with my life?
Fasty Heath, fasty.
Hey, let me just say, TG, you need to go through your inbox.
Oh, okay.
Somebody said you had a lot of unread emails.
Oh, I do. Yes. So somebody saw that my email account 1,740 emails.
You need to declare email bankruptcy.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to They Said It.
Oh, good gracious.
Good gracious.
Sorry, guys. I'm off my game.
Read my lips.
I'm going to say this again.
I've never taken steroids or HGH.
I took the initiative in creating the internet.
The Macintosh, of all the machines I've ever seen, is the only one that meets that standard.
I'm not a crook.
If you know what you're doing here, slide out.
Somewhere among the Christian culture, it has been drilled into our hearts and our minds that it is not appropriate to talk about sex. Jennifer Smith, in her blog post, Why I Think Christians Should Talk About Sex, source unveiledwife.com.
It's easy to see the appeal. The Robertsons are immensely likable. They're funny. They look cool. They're smarter than they look, says sports writer Mark Schlabach, who co-writes the family's books. And they are remarkably honest both with one another and with the viewing audience. Drew Magary, in his controversial GQ article with Duck Dynasty's patriarch, Phil Robertson, source GQ.
This is very much an intuitive relationship between an emotional state and a religious state. We can make you feel awe and that's going to trigger your belief in the presence and power of a supernatural being, all makes people want to see events as the results of design. That could be God or humans, depending on context. Professor of psychology Riccardo Baldassolo of Claremont McKenna College, referring to his recent study, which seems to link the sense of awe with religious explanation. Source, Time Magazine.
If you think my position on homosexuality is radical, just wait until you hear what else I believe. I believe that a teenage guy and girl who have sex in the backseat of a pickup are sinning. The unmarried heterosexual couple living down the street from me is sinning. In fact, any sexual activity that takes place outside of the marriage covenant between a husband and wife is sinful. What's more, Jesus takes his sexual ethic a step further and goes to the heart of the matter. That means that any time I even lust after someone else, I am sinning. Trevin Wax, in a blog post entitled How I Wish the Homosexuality Debate Would Go. Source, the Gospel Coalition.
All right, let's just start right up there with the first story. This is an interesting blog post by Jennifer Smith. I happened along this just looking.
Sorry, hold on, Tony. Hold on.
Understand what we're trying to say, you know? But that's a part of life.
Little salt and pepper, Tim.
Come on, let's talk about sex.
Okay, there you go. That's all. All right, go ahead. Now you may begin.
Thanks, guys.
Is it bad that we knew who and what that song was?
I feel so clueless right now. I feel like I'm out of town or something.
Oh, you are.
You are.
So I really liked this blog post, and Matthew, you and I have had this conversation before about just sometimes our frustration with how people react if we even want to talk about this subject from the pulpit or in a public setting, a Bible study or something like that. And Jennifer Smith in this article, I mean, she, at least the way I feel about this topic, I just so wholeheartedly agree. And you need to read the blog because she had something on her blog that she thought would be funny and people would like, and she got all kinds of criticism for it, and she feels like it was unfair criticism, and I agree with her. And it was just like kind of a wink and a nod about the playfulness of sex with her husband. I mean, within the confines, and there were some Christians who thought that was inappropriate, and in my estimation, it wasn't inappropriate at all. And she's saying, for crying out loud, if the church isn't going to talk about this, then what hope do our young people have? I mean, we have a clear ethic on this. Yeah. The Bible speaks about it, so let's talk about it.
And it's a tough one. It goes back to this whole idea. You got to have, literally inside the church, you've got to have church buy-in on this. I feel like sometimes we could be walking to our own demise as pastors in some settings to even approach the subject, and it's a tough one to get across.
Yeah. I think the church and parents, a lot of times we're so silent on sex that there's a natural curiosity about sex. When we're silent about it, it creates an unnatural curiosity about sex. I mean, Wade, you've got a teenage son.
Close, yeah.
How do you, yeah, there you go. How do you have that talk with him?
Yeah, Wade put Wade on.
That's right. Well, I got 3 kids. I'm just going to put it off on him.
Well, the thing is we're getting ready to have that. He's actually 11 years old, and we're getting ready to have that talk with him because we're seeing signs. And one of the funny things is I'm a huge football fan.
Yeah.
He could care less.
Yeah.
But the other day he was sitting there watching the game with me, and my wife came in and said, "Oh, you're watching football with Dad?" He said, "I'm waiting for the cheerleaders."
Oh, wow.
So Norley kind of looked at me, and I said, "It's time for the talk."
Time for the talk. Well, my son is 6, and a young girl in his kindergarten class last year said some things to him, and so we haven't had the in-depth discussion yet. But that's something it's my right as a parent. It's my God-given right to gross my kids out when I talk about stuff. And that's good. To me, that's healthy. Because when my parents try to talk to me, it's like, gross. I don't want to hear this. But you know what?
Well, see, that's what we're talking about.
Kept me on the straight.
I was a pastor's kid. I'm still waiting for my dad to have the talk.
Yeah.
with me, so-
Yeah.
Well,
Hey,
Wade,
I
with the
remember-
tell you what, Wade. Well, this is how it works.
I remember the little booklet that my dad sat down with me, and I think we made it about 2/3 of the way through, if my memory serves me right.
Yeah.
And then we never actually got to the end of whatever this book was that they found. And I tell you what, I remember another one of the most confusing things in the world. It had little illustrations and diagrams.
Yeah.
And I couldn't make heads or tails of what I was seeing. And I remember just being mystified by some of the things in that booklet. I was like, what in the world?
And that was just yesterday.
How does this even? What?
What are the tadpoles about?
Hey,
What are the tadpoles? I
You
didn't
know,
get
so the other day, let's see, this would have been Sunday. We went to Best Buy and our kids got iPods for Christmas, and in their cases, we got them the indestructible cases, and so they had some older headphones that the jack will fit in there, but the thing around the jack,
I know where you're going.
it won't go in there. So I go to Best Buy, and one of my daughters is with me. Melena and Drake are somewhere else. So one of my daughters is with me, and I'm talking to the guy. I'm telling him what I need. I said, "Yeah, I need one of the things that's got a male in and a female in." And so he's like, "Okay, yeah." And Karis is like,
"What?
Why do they call it that?" And I'm like, and I said, "Well, because one end has a male in and one end has a female in." And she went, "Oh, that's so gross." And but it was just like,
Hey,
see, if my dad would have just come in with a set of headphones and
Yeah.
sat down with me and said,
he
"Son,
didn't speak your language.
this is
No,
the male end,
no.
and this is the female end."
Not an XLR cable.
No.
All right, the next
Okay.
story,
so
kind of
the show-
sticking on this
show is
same.
totally off the rails here.
Oh my goodness! Here we go. Now this would have been really confusing. Let me hold on a second. Let me hold this up because this is one of the cables we have around here for the show. What do you make? What do you do with this end right here?
That leads right in.
Like, what if he came in with this happening? Oh my goodness!
All right, that leads into our next story. Big controversy with.
Talking about a Christian who's not afraid to talk about sex.
That's right, Phil Robertson, and lots of controversy. He was suspended from the A&E show Duck Dynasty for a little over a week. Let me just say first, at the time they suspended him or announced his suspension, much of the upcoming season had already been filmed. About half of it, more than half of it. So if they had stuck to their suspension, would he have been off the second half of the season? And how do you explain that? He's such an integral part of the show. And how can one day you announce, well, he's been suspended from the show, and tomorrow we're having a Duck Dynasty marathon? It's there was just so many things with this that just bothered me.
Let me say this. I felt like this was an article I had to read.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was a story we had to cover because it's been so prominent, and especially over the holiday season. So these are the things I would say. Number one, read the article in full before you form any opinion whatsoever.
Yes.
Read the article in full. There's a running commentary with the article. And let me just say this, that if you are offended by F-bombs and things like that, then you won't want to read it because the author of the article is dropping F-bombs all over.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
Number two, Wade, you made the comment in the pre-show that A&E had a representative there the whole time.
Yep. Yeah, they had an A&E representative there. As far as we know, never tried to inject himself in the conversation, never tried to stop it. So yeah, it did seem like Heath said, there's a lot of strangeness around it.
His comments about sexuality, his comments about race, are comments, especially when it comes to race, for someone raised in the Southeast. I would say I wouldn't agree with his comments, right. But I had been reading that, he makes these strong racial comments. They are not strong racial comments. They're not at all. I would say this. I would take Phil to task because Phil says, hey, I hoed cotton alongside of African Americans, and they were happy. They were happy. Yeah. And now he makes it sound like in his article, and now we have African Americans, and all they're interested in is in the welfare state. And so he paints with this broad brush, which I would take Phil to task.
Yeah.
But the things that I had been hearing,
Yeah.
were not confirmed at all.
Right.
So
yeah.
you got to read the whole.
And I'm not
article.
saying that, I wouldn't have said things the way he said it, and,
Yes.
and I'm not inside of his head, but
Right.
I don't think he was trying to make the point that blacks should not have had the right to vote.
Right. Right.
Or,
It wasn't. Yeah.
or the civil rights shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
I think what he
Yeah.
was saying was is that there was not an entitlement culture then
Right.
that
Yeah.
there is now. And so,
And he was also speaking from a personal experience. Hey, the people
Right.
I knew,
right.
Yeah, very,
were
very
very
personal.
happy, and they weren't singing the blues, and the thing that bothered me the absolute most, and I love it's open a good discussion as we'll get. This last article we'll get to, it started a good discussion, but on both sides of the fence.
I have nothing but criticism for A&E on this. Nothing but criticism.
Right, but-
They
Yeah.
boggled it.
Oh, I agree
Well-
with it. But I think on both sides, I think people were way too quick to throw Phil
Yeah.
Robertson
Yeah.
under the bus, but they were also a little too quick
Yes.
to come to his defense.
Very good. Very
Exactly.
good.
But if you look at the context of the article and the interview,
Yeah.
he was asked the question, "What's sin?"
Yeah.
And he defined it, but then they always cut it off there. If you read the rest of the article, what he
Yes.
said was, "But I'm not the one who's going to judge people.
Right.
God is the one who's got to sort them out."
Very good.
Right,
Wade.
right, and yeah,
Yeah.
and what had happened in all of the blog posts and articles is they took quotes from this article and put them in different orders,
Right.
and
right.
made it say what they wanted it to say. Now again, we're both
Yeah.
saying, would we have said things the way
No.
he said it? But I'm gonna tell you what, my dad's 70 years old, and had they interviewed him, he probably would have said a lot of the same
Yeah,
things.
exactly.
That if you interview someone that age from the South, they're gonna use some of the same language about homosexuality, and rightly or wrongly.
Yep.
Yeah. and So let me. We have a couple issues under mail call that I want to get to.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to bring this. Here's our advice on this. Don't even talk about this issue if you haven't read the article.
Right.
Don't even enter the debate. You need to read the whole article from beginning to end. The next two stories, guys, I'm sorry, we're just going to skip over these. We just put them out there. This Time Magazine article, very interesting how this idea of awe leads to a sense of God. And I can hear Roger McKenzie praising this article because he talks about how you can get people out in nature and the connection with God.
Yeah.
And
And there's a great on that article quickly. There's a great video to watch, and the whole premise is there are no atheists at the Grand Canyon. Great article used in my message Sunday.
Yes. So grab that. It's a great resource. The other one, Heath put me onto this. I just thought this was good. It's Trevin Wax, and he says this is the way I wish the conversation about homosexuality would go. And you can notice in the quote that Heath read for you that he puts it within the context of immorality, and that there are times the Christian communities got duped into just singling out this one sexual sin when in fact there's a whole sexual ethic that the scripture speaks about. Let's go ahead, and there are two things I want to talk about here as we wrap up the show, and we actually are going to do this under mail call.
Mail call.
Yeah.
All right, gents, thanks for this episode. I was recently referred to Skydog by a guy in NZ. What's NZ?
New Zealand.
New Zealand. I was looking for a review on YouTube for more info and stumbled upon your channel. I am now a fan of your show. I also ordered my Skydog via your link. I will be talking to our church as well as the Christian school our 4 children attend. Kurt Lyon. So Kurt, thanks for the response there. Thanks for buying it through our affiliate link.
Yep.
Yeah, and Heath, so you've got Skydog and you bought your kids these devices, and we were anticipating, so how's this going to work once you have all the devices?
So before Christmas, we had the Skydog router. I went in, set up all the kids' iPods before Christmas, had those ready, and I just went in on their iPods and turned Safari off. So they had no internet access, can't go on YouTube or anything like that. So I was thankful for that. But with SkyDog, they can't even go. I can set when they can even have any kind of wireless connection. And my son's internet connection, I put it so strict, he can't even get into the app store. Like, even when I try to do it, I'm like, buddy, we just... So it is like, I'm telling you, I have had them on lockdown, and I absolutely love it.
Here, kids, I got you an iPod-shaped paperweight for Christmas.
No, but when they say, "Hey, Dad, I want this game," I download it on my phone. I hook it. I go through a lot of steps I shouldn't, normally wouldn't have to. But for me personally, it's about protecting my kids. It's about all three of their devices. It's locked with a passcode as far as the internet. SkyDog, I can go on there. If they unlocked it, I could see every site they went to. And again, if they somehow unlocked Safari and were able to go on the internet, the settings I've got set on SkyDog for them are super, super tight.
So you're a happy customer.
I am very happy. I cannot wait to see when our internet service provider changes and our internet greatly improves. I cannot wait to see how this device works with normal internet.
So I got to thank Kurt. We got our link here at the bottom of the screen. If you were to purchase one, we got $5.96 because of that purchase for SkyDog, and I love it.
They're normally $149, and they just had this deal in, sadly. But if you bought one, you could get multiple ones for just $99. So I wish I would have taken advantage of that. But
thanks for letting our viewers know what they cannot take advantage of. Thanks so much.
We were out in the studio, so sorry about
that. We're more than excited about this product. I don't think
we are.
I think if you go back and listen to that episode, next to last episode of the year, I believe we all sounded like babbling children. So excited about it. I will look that up and get back to you.
Yeah, so if someone's just listening, they didn't hear that episode. I think it's like 229 or something like that. But great device. All right, another email. Hey guys, you discussed the Driscoll stuff going on last week, and I saw this article that discussed his response, and the publisher's response seems pretty respectable. And one of the reasons I always give this guy the benefit of the doubt, along with how Matthew talked about how much of a good impact his ministry has had on where he is at right now. And then this is from Zach Burnham, and he links us to this particular article that he read, where basically Tyndall is standing behind Driscoll on this. And we discussed this, I think, the last show of the year.
Yep.
Well, the thing, Mark Driscoll, to me, it amazes me what a lightning rod of controversy he is. I'm a Mo Wesleyan, okay? I don't agree with his views on election. I don't agree with his views on women in ministry. But the guy is solid.
Yeah.
And he has helped me a lot as a pastor, as a Christian. He's helped a lot of people. And it kind of amazed. He did make a mistake. He admitted it. He apologized for it. But what amazes me is how people want to pile on him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When something happens.
I think if you're going to throw criticism at this, let's throw criticism at a couple of different things. One, the ghostwriting philosophy of the church. And we discussed that a little bit. I just think that there's got to be a better system. But I think that the major onus of this falls on Tyndale, and it falls on their editors, and they should be the ones falling on the sword for what they've done, because that has to pass through their hands before that book goes out. And
can I just say, and this is what I love about technology, and that story really made me aware. I'm trying to use different resources in my preaching. We're trying to provide different resources on our church website. We're using a lot of quotes, and I love Kindle, because when I copy and paste a quote and put it on our church website, it automatically gets a citation and the link. I love it, and I think it's very important for pastors, because a lot of times people say things better in their book better than I could.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's important to give proper credit.
And I've been on that end. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, Wade, I was just going to say to you, it's not a surprise to me though that that he is a lightning rod, and part of that is because he's not afraid to be a lightning
he's
rod.
right.
And so we discussed on the show a few weeks ago how he just showed up at just left me.
John
Strange,
MacArthur.
Strange Fire.
Yeah, he just showed up there, had his own book. I mean, he crashed the party. And my thing is this: if you're going to do that kind of stuff, then don't be surprised when someone does it to you.
Yeah. And I think one of the things, I mean, I've been following his ministry for 8-9 years, I think, and he really has matured a lot.
Yeah.
He really has. And he will admit that, that, but he still does things like that, like you said. It's just,
All right.
But
Listen, let's talk real quick about who's coming up in the future. On January 21st, we have Keith Drury with us. We're going to discuss 2 of his books. That's Soul Shaper and Gather. These are books on corporate spiritual disciplines and personal spiritual disciplines. On January the 28th, Lois Tverberg, author of Sitting at the Feet of Rabbi Jesus. Matthew, you're familiar with this book.
Yeah, excited about it. And it was actually referenced by one of our past guests as a formative and influential book in her life. Rachel Held Evans talked about this book. I've had a chance to read it and be exposed to it. And it really, and you got to get context, guys. And context isn't just in the text. Sometimes it's in the culture that surrounds the text. Yeah. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it was great in Sunday school this past week. My wife referenced this book. She's also read it as well. It's a wonderful book. And then, again, I'm going to kind of point you out, Matthew. One I know you're very excited about. That's February the 4th, Russell Moore, Adopted for Life.
Yes, the book Adopted for Life made me pull off the road in tears as I was listening to the audiobook version of it. Oh my goodness, I cannot speak highly enough of this book, and it's about adoption, and don't think that means that, well, I'm too old to adopt. It's about the culture of adoption and the culture of adoption inside the church, and how God has adopted us as his children. How does that trickle out through our hands into how we interact with literal orphans? Man, it's a great book.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Wade, if our listeners want to get a hold of you, where might they be able to do that?
Actually, the best place for them to go now is www.imustasheyouaquestion@wordpress.com.
I didn't put that in lower third because I didn't think you were serious.
I was dead serious, yeah.
Hey, couple of things real quick before I tell you where I'm at is no show next week because we're going to be at the Pastors Gathering, and no show on February 18th. Matthew and I are going to be down at 12 Stone for a great event with Kevin Myers and John Maxwell, hoping to interview them. And hey, we forgot to mention this at the beginning of the show. We talked about the Community Bible Experience. We're giving away a case of Bibles courtesy of Biblical and Wesleyan Church. You can go to thetechnologyshow.com/giveaway, or you can go right there. Technology/giveaway. Free. You got 2 weeks to enter. On the 21st, we're going to be announcing that. That's one case of books, 12 Bibles that we're giving away. Go to that link. Please, 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 please do it now.
Yes.
And go to heathmullican.com.
Yes. And you can find me at MatthewTG.com, where it'll just link you to every other place where I'm at. But yeah.
And you can find me at AKC64 at both Facebook and Twitter. Listen, as always, we just want to thank you for joining us. If you want to look at anything that we discussed today, you can find the link to all the stories that we covered on the show today at our website, thetechnologyshow.com. If you want to send us an email like Zach did and like Kurt did, we would love to hear from you. Send that to thetechnologyshow@gmail.com. Or better yet, we have a way for you to talk to us, and we can put that under mail call as well. You can call us at 3049-THEOLOGY. Leave us a voicemail, and we may even play your comments on the air. As always, thanks for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful 2014. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Woohoo!
Trying out so many new things, Heath. Give us another.
Goodbye.
Still not good enough. That's not what the viewers expect. One more.
Adios.
Adios. Hasta luego.
All right.
Hasta la vista, baby.
So when I don't see the production manager there, it looks funny.